Absolutely, yes. You wouldn't want to use this for building a flashy e-commerce website where you want to sell stuff. No, that's not what it's meant for. And yeah, I think that's also very real conscious decision that we made somewhere in the beginning. Like, okay, no, we're going to do this Fluent stuff. We're going to make it easy for developers to build applications that look and act like Windows applications or Microsoft applications, and that's it.
Hey there, welcome to Beta Talks, the podcast. I'm Rick.
And I am Oscar.
And today we are joined by Vincent Baaij, developer, consultant, architect, and principal maintainer of Microsoft's Fluent UI Blazor library. Welcome, Vincent.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you on. I mean, we've spoken to each other a couple of times. I think you've visited our user group in the Netherlands, in the southern Netherlands as well. Yeah, and you had an awesome session there, and that was actually one of the reasons we really wanted to have you on the show, is because you have a lot of technical knowledge and background. So maybe the best first step to take is to see what has your career path looked like up until now.
Well, the career path already spans close to 30 years and been in IT always. Started out as a developer, then you can talk to customers. Maybe you can become like a project lead or a project manager. Then it was like going into business development, pre-sales, and all that kind of auxiliary functions. But the blood always goes where it shouldn't go, and getting back into development was always a big wish. So that's basically where I'm sort of kind of back in the beginning now, where I do this combined role, working with feet on the ground and actually building stuff for our customers.
Yeah, because your current role is at Rubicon, right?
Rubicon, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you're a consultant, or you're an architect, or what's your day-to-day look like?
It's like a combination of solution architect / developer. So I'm kind of responsible for the whole technology landscape that is for one of our biggest customers on the integration platform that we supply for them. And not only do I oversee that technology, but I'm also currently actually building on those integrations myself. And integrations vary from, say, a function app that is completely written in C# code till logic apps that are being clicked together in the Azure portal and then reworked back to infrastructure as code options.
Okay, so that actually spans quite a lot of the current Azure landscape.
Yeah, exactly. And well, as you can imagine from my previous role as a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, I do happen to know some some stuff about the Azure landscape.
Yeah. And if you're missing something, you know who to ask.
Well, that is always a lot harder than you think from the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we actually just had a direct colleague of mine in the episode we also recorded today. And one of the things we said was, as a cloud solution architect for our customers, sometimes you just help navigate Microsoft internally because it can be hard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And what you really miss now that you're not on the inside anymore is that you don't have the teams where you can just reach out to everyone. Now you suddenly need email addresses, and those are a lot harder to get by.
Yes, because also there's not a structure in. Yeah, there is a structure in there, but then there's also all kinds of. Yeah, but now this one email address has been taken by somebody else, so now we're going
to.
So, to be honest, one of the things I do sometimes is, especially when it's things that have been developed out in the open, I just go to GitHub, go to see who's the most active maintainer, and then
start there.
Work from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's like you have all the official structures, but when there's an outage, I go to Twitter,
right,
and I tag the support team.
And
somehow
I think
that works.
It's still one of the fastest ways of getting at least responses on
absolutely
outages.
Yeah.
Now, talking about maintainers, there's this project called Fluent UI Blazor library. And
Yes.
I think there's over 130 contributors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that you are the main one, right?
Well, together with my Microsoft colleague Denis, he jumped into the project also, well, many years ago already. But we are kind of the two administrators and oversee all the stuff that gets built, and we are also sort of the, how do you call that, the benevolent leaders that decide on what we want to develop or not. Because building such a library is a huge undertaking, and if you don't keep a tight rope, then things spiral out of control, and you have like a gazillion components in there that you also all need to maintain and document and test, etc. So we try to keep a focus on what we want to build.
Do you then plan out more of a roadmap so that contributors can pick from there, or do you get like out of the blue add-ons?
It's mostly out of the blue, but I think what we see now with our current version is V4. We are now very far in the development of the next version, V5. And there we actually had a couple of contributors that said, hey, can I build that part, or can I work on that specific component to make that work with the new web components or whatever. So yeah, that's a little bit more streamlined now. And also what we did in the meantime was setting up like a community toolkit. So for all the stuff where we say, that's useful, but it's not part of the core, we try to direct people to that community project so that they can still contribute to the Fluent UI Blazor ecosystem. But it doesn't yet, it doesn't then affect the stuff that we can do, and we don't have to maintain it either. So that's sometimes helpful.
So for people listening, maybe it's a good idea to first shortly introduce what actually Fluent UI Blazor library is. And then I'm really curious, how did this actually come about? Was this something that you jumped on because it was already there? Did you start it? So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it is and how it came to be.
Okay, let's start with what it is. So basically, Microsoft has developed one design system to rule them all, which is called the Fluent Design System. And basically that describes what kind of colors, what kind of shades, fonts, all kinds of things that have to do with building a UI, how they need to look. And they are basically applying that to all the applications that get written, web applications like Teams, but also the Office application, or even Windows 11 itself. The theme that you're looking at is also a Fluent design theme. And as you know, within Microsoft, React is very big. A lot of stuff was already written there and is still being written in React. So basically they said, well, we're going to build a set of components implementing that Fluent design with React. And at a certain point in time, there were some people working with web components, and they said, well, let's also build a set of components that is then built upon the web component technology on that kind of umbrella stack of stuff that's happening. And the goal of that team was to say, okay, we have a basic set of web components, and then we want to have integrations with all kinds of languages. And Blazor was one of them. So they started building that, and then they came to they found that they didn't have enough Blazor knowledge. And like you said earlier, Rick, you just go to a repository and you find the maintainer. That's how I acted as well when I found out that Microsoft was building its own Blazor library. I picked up who was the maintainer there and contacted them on Teams and say, hey, I know some Blazor stuff. I already also know some Fluent UI stuff. So can I be of any assistance? Long story short, within a couple of months, I became the administrator there because of reorgs and people leaving and a different focus, etc. And basically then it was mine. And ever since then, I've been cranking out new versions together with Denis and all the other contributors that you mentioned.
If you look at that project, then is it because the Fluent UI is a design system, so it's mostly a set of documentation that says how something should work in component land, or are you actually sharing some base components, or is the library really not depending on anything?
It's really a set of base components that are ready to use in your applications. That's like maybe 2/3 or maybe even 70 or 80% of it. But then we also added some more Blazor-like functionality on saying, okay, this is how you can build a layout where you can place those components, and this is how you can set a theme to change the colors or do something with the shades or whatever. We also integrated the whole Fluent UI system icons set, which is about 12K icons in all kinds of sizes and colors, etc. We did the same for the Fluent UI emoji library, so the actual emojis that are being used in Teams, and if you hit win period, those are also available as packages in the library. We also converted all the standard Blazor templates to Fluent UI versions of those templates. And did I forget anything?
Well, are you then also like in the box for Visual Studio as the default?
No. But if you install our template package, then they show up in the interface on exactly the same level as the Blazor templates. Yeah, they're kind of like 100% functional, the same. But we just made all the arrangements already to use Fluent UI in your application from the start. So that's just a lot easier. And
is there then also a hook going towards, for instance, something like Aspire that's now really popular to create all kinds of applications?
Yeah, because there's an Aspire starter template as well, which uses a Blazor application also. So it's kind of an inception, because the Aspire dashboard is also built with the Blazor Fluent UI library.
Oh, okay.
But you can. So we also translated that template, and then you just say, okay, start a new Aspire application, and the application that you're then launching through the dashboard is the counter and the weather page, but then fluentized.
Yeah, and so we were talking what's in there. I just opened the website real quick. We'll share a link to the website and to the Git repo as well. But I mean, there's dialogues, there's message boxes, there's toasts, there's all kinds of layout stuff like headers and footers and grids and spacers, but also anchored regions. There's buttons. There's so much in there that you can use to build your. But I do feel like it's more targeted towards line of business applications, right?
Absolutely, yes. You wouldn't want to use this for building a flashy e-commerce website where you want to sell stuff. No, that's not what it's meant for. I think that's also very real conscious decision that we made somewhere in the beginning. Like, okay, no, we're going to do this Fluent stuff. We're going to make it easy for developers to build applications that look and act like Windows applications or Microsoft applications. And that's it.
And then I think
we're good at.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. But then for a team like the Aspire team to start using your library to make sure that it looks the way they want it to look, that must be like almost the ultimate form of.
That's a compliment, right?
Yeah. I can say without a doubt that in my 6.5 years at Microsoft, that was the most proudest moment I had when I found out that they were using it. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to use it, but I actually found out when the dashboard was already almost complete. And I was like, oh, wow, now it's actually really a library that has a dependency on stuff being in production, or stuff being in production having a dependency on our library. So we cannot screw around anymore and break stuff, etc. Now we really have to step up a notch.
Yeah, also it says something, right? Because if I'm looking for a framework that does something like this for me, and I see that the Aspire team picks it up, it's like, oh, then it's safe.
Yeah, they must have done something right.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's. I think it's a testament to the quality that the library has, and it is of course open source. Anyone can poke at the code and do stuff with it. But having it being used in such a high profile program is a testament to its quality. Yeah, for sure.
If you look at to the pure design system of Fluent UI, it's like are you keeping up? Is that still growing? Like how much % are complete are you to everything that's described there?
So for the V4 version, we were 100% complete. But the web component version that we were using was V2, and they are now very close to releasing V3. I think we're currently at release candidate 8 or 9. But that one is a little bit less feature rich than the React counterpart, so to say. But I don't really think that any real essential stuff is missing, and we might even have some extra stuff that you don't have with the React components. So it's a trade-off between what can we build ourselves. So basically, we said we want to support for 100% the web components that are out there. But there were a couple of components where, like, for example, with the icons and the emoji, there is no web component that describes how that should work or something. So those are kind of native Blazor components that we built to act and look and feel like Fluent UI components, but they are, we just basically built and styled those ourselves based on the guidelines that are out there.
So, I mean, I've seen the Fluent UI Blazor library before, and I think it's really powerful. I'm just now skimming the GitHub page again, and if I see the amount of work that's being put in and the amount of commits that come in, I mean, sometimes multiple commits a day, I can imagine this almost feels like a second job. So what I'm curious about, Vincent, is what have you learned by maintaining this for so long, and also did it give you any new insights into open source development?
Well, the what it learned me is that it's a lot of work. It's hard work, and it's a lot of times it's ungrateful work. People can be very entitled if they use open source software. I happen to run into those a couple of times already. But it's also very satisfying. I mean, if you learn something like, hey, Aspire is using my stuff in air quotes. That's also hugely fulfilling, and it's something that I really like to do. And I have to say, honestly, when I was working at Microsoft, that I always hoped that it was kind of my way in to get into the engineering department. Maybe work on the .NET team or the Blazor team or whatever, but that just never materialized. And with organizational changes, that only became more difficult to achieve. But that didn't hold me back from doing the actual work, because I just like to do it. And there's, like I said, I think a lot of people, well, depending on it is maybe a big word, but I would let a lot of people down if I would just stop maintaining it, or if even Microsoft would say, we don't want to do this anymore and let's quit it. Then I would probably fork it and bring out another version.
Yeah, we've, of course, one of the reasons I'm asking is because we've seen a lot of, I'm going to call them famous open source maintainers, make all sorts of, let's say, choices around their services. Yeah, mainly also because it's
trying
a lot
to keep
of
it
work,
sustainable, right?
To try and keep it sustainable. Yes. So, have you considered something like that, or?
I did. I think so. There's now this. I can't remember the name of that person, but I think he designed something like where you say, okay, if I'm going to use this and I'm going to make money off it, then I'm going to do some support contract that gets some money back to the developers.
Was
I
Jimmy
think it's the
Bogart
open source
also
maintainers framework or something like that.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Bogart spoke out about it.
Yes, he did. Yeah, but that was something that I considered doing when I left Microsoft and said, well, maybe do I want to split it off from Microsoft and do it myself? And even the Aspire people were like, yeah, well, if it's still like open source, we could switch. We don't have, it doesn't have to be like an internal thing to use it. But yeah, it would also have all kinds of other implications, like renaming all the namespaces and getting your own infrastructure for deployment setup and code signing the packages, etc. So there were quite a lot of complications on it. But yeah, I kind of considered it for a while to say, okay, is this then something where I want to take the plunge and become a self-employed software developer and do this as a core activity? But no, I chickened out and started working for a company again and just do this as a hobby project still. Yeah, but a hobby project sounds like it's an easy thing or another big thing, but I think that it has outgrown that a bit.
Passion project.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, you see some libraries that are still open source, and then next to it, especially if you have like a really small core team of maintainers, that they create a small business with support towards enterprises or someone that's really relying on this to function and to even get some priority on some components that are really important for them. So that could be a successful route sometimes, because you don't have to really change the core project. It's still open source. It's still everyone's. But there's so many people trying to find their way in those models past couple of years. And I think if you look now, I heard some people complaining, getting like avalanches of pull requests in because everyone with an agent can now deliver a lot of code churn. It's like, are you feeling that already, or is it not so much?
Well, we are also using AI a lot internally for developing stuff and fleshing out new components or APIs or whatever. So I can see personally for me that it's helping me kind of like giving a bit of relief in it's still a lot of commits, but I don't have to do as much thinking and developing on it as before. So in that sense, it's helping me. I haven't seen that many contributors yet just giving you stuff and say, hey, this is new stuff or whatever.
But I can really imagine that could be a bit of a threat for your project almost. It's like if you cannot handle those, like how to handle that.
And in that regards, I think having it in the Microsoft repo also kind of gives you a bit of protection, sort of, where people are more maybe held back on saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna commit and contribute to that." They know or realize or feel that there are certain standards that they need to adhere to, and
there are a lot of eyeballs on it.
I have a lot of eyeballs in it. So in that sense, it's I think it's a good thing that it's still a Microsoft product, so to say. And we clearly state that in the documentation and elsewhere in the READMEs, etc., that it's a real open source project. There's no support guarantee. We do that on the best effort base. We don't follow any ASP or .NET releases. We draw our own path, and it's just being published in the Microsoft organization.
Yeah, if there's because you mentioned that, like if there's a new iteration coming out for .NET, for instance, did you now start to work on the .NET 11 version, because you're pretty way down, right? You have .NET and then you have Blazor at some point also needing to follow internally. Like how early are you working on those previews?
Well, usually we start at somewhere around preview 3 or 4, and actually adding support for those .NET versions isn't that hard most of the time, because it's quite low. But for the Blazor side of things, there are not like many breaking changes, or you can have like, if you have I now have split up all the templates. So I have a .NET 8 template, a .NET 9 template, a .NET 10 template, and the new stuff that is specific to .NET 10 or 9 and higher only goes into those templates. So it doesn't interfere with what the base or the core code is doing. For example, with the static assets, etc. Well, that changed a lot between 8 and 9. So we do that for 9, but for 8 it just continues to work on the old way. So we're usually pretty quick with adding support. But now with the new STS terms, we now have .NET 8, .NET 9, .NET 10, and then soon .NET 11. So that's quite a bit of churn that you have to go through to test on all those versions, etc. And if you then combine that with 5 or 6 different templates, you can imagine the number of test cases that you would need to write to implement all those or to test all those versions.
Yeah, you start with a hobby project, but in the end, you're keeping support cycles like Microsoft is. So it's that's a pretty heavy task, I guess.
Yeah,
I was curious, so I went to the contributors page, and it says that Vincent has had 2,312 commits, totaling more than 8 million lines of code. So,
okay,
like, wow, that's some impressive amount of work there.
Yeah.
That's hobby.
It keeps me off the street.
I can imagine that one. Oscar.
No, but it's absolutely not just my project. Denis has a very heavy part in it as well. We just both love to do it, and we just hope it's useful, and others have as much fun using it as we have building it. And usually, I have to say, the comments that you get or the remarks that you get are fully underlining that. But sometimes every now and then you have 1 or 2 jerks, like I said, entitled people in there. And you just don't have to let them get to you that much, and move on and look for the good things.
No, you cannot please everyone.
Absolutely.
Totally
and I think that, like I said, we made the clear decision on saying, okay, this is what we do with it. We support the Windows look and feel, so to say. That also helps a lot, because then it's clear for everyone. Like, but I want to have this color on that line, no, sorry, we're not
clear
going
scope,
to do that.
clear constraints. This is what we do.
It's
our project. Yeah, no, it's good.
I mean, the fact that you have close to 5,000 stars on the repos probably says enough about people being happy with the fact that Fluent UI Blazor library is there.
And
Oscar.
Also the number of downloads is quite heavy. I think for the V4 we're now over 2 million. So
wow,
that's quite impressive, especially if you take into account that it's meant to be used for line of business applications. I mean, that's only a subpart of the entire web applications being built using Blazor. So
but that means that it's not the I have 20 hobby projects, so I have 20 of these downloads on it or whatever. But these are probably real long-lasting internal applications.
Yeah.
Okay. You wanted to say?
I wanted to say
that it's time
for a totally
random question.
Bring it on.
Here we go. If you had to hide a single object in your walls for someone to find in 100 years' time to confuse them, what would it be?
What?
That's a really random question.
I just read it, just threw it there, like I get it on my screen. It's really funny.
I really have no idea. Maybe my MVP award, the crystal.
The crystal.
Yeah,
What's this crystal?
That's. I think 100 years from now, that's probably not. No, I don't know if it's still going to be a thing at that point in time.
No, I assume not. And then maybe people think like, oh, this is something really valuable, or could this be really valuable? I can imagine that in 100 years' time that it would still be, or even be easier to find information about what it was. But maybe that would make for a nice surprise for someone.
Yeah, if it's not findable, then something really went horribly wrong.
Then we have other issues, I guess. Yes.
Yeah. So, how long have you been working at Rubicon now?
Since October last year.
And you're already been recognized now as an MVP.
January 1st, yes.
Oh wow.
Congrats. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, but I think it's mostly based on, or at least I hope, on the work that I did at the library while working at Microsoft, and that the people that go over these nominations and awards recognize that the work was done not as part of my day job, but really as as a side project, hobby project next to my work, my regular work.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing, right? I mean, maintaining an open source project, and especially one as visible as this one, of course it contributes, but also it's expected that you share knowledge or insights or whatever via blogs, via social media, maybe even giving talks. So you're quite active there as well.
I think I should be a little bit more active, especially now that I am an MVP. But it sometimes feels a bit, maybe that's some imposter syndrome roaring its head, but it feels like a bit of a one-trick pony, because all the things that I do with the blogs and the videos and whatever is related to the library. But I also have to, as I'm a little bit older now, I came to realize, like, okay, this is what I do, this is how I do it, and you either like it or you take it or you don't, and that's fine as well. But so if the powers that decide over the MVP award say it's too narrow or whatever, well, okay, then that's that.
I like broad knowledge is nice, and I think I'm a bit of a generalist, but like I think doing something really good and focusing on it and making it lasting long term is super valuable. And
yes,
should definitely not, if you're then missing out on the latest hype or whatever, it's like a lot of people rely on you, and that's actually very important.
And I think with one of our contributors now having added a full MCP component to our library, what makes it easy to integrate it, and you can basically just say to Copilot, create a Fluent UI Blazor application, and it runs off and does stuff. That we are actually also looking at those new hypes it's already past hype, I think, but still. But it's something that came from another contributor. It's not something that I said, oh, now I want to jump on that wagon as well and start digging into that. I just continue to focus on making those new components even better. But we can have other contributors that can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and this just popped in my head. I know that several Blazor front-end frameworks, I'm not going to name names, but they might have a bit of issues with accessibility, with ARIA labeling, that kind of stuff. Is that something that you actively work on for the Fluent UI library?
Quite a bit, I must say. It's also because that's already kind of part of the charter of the people that build the web components. If you go to the web components repository and sites that they have the documentation, then accessibility is really one of their pillars that they are building on. So we kind of inherit that. But for all the stuff that we build ourselves, we are very, very aware of making it accessible and add the right labeling, etc. And I'm not going to claim or say that we're 100% doing all the WCHG guidelines, etc. But no, we work on it very consciously. And if people find issues with it, please raise tickets so that we can make it better. Because I personally also find that a really important hallmark of the library to support that.
Yeah, because there's a whole world that goes on there, right? It even goes down to colors being enough contrasting of each other for people with low visibility or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. So one of the biggest struggles that we had was people using the library. They say, "Oh, I have this hex color, this hex code for a color, and I fill that into the theme." But I never see that actual exact color back again. And that's because the Fluent UI library, not the Blazor part, but the web component part, just takes that code and generates a ramp of colors and says, okay, for the contrast and accessibility to be good, we need to tweak it a bit and it needs to be lighter or darker or whatever. But then the developers get in huge fights with the marketing and style police departments because it's not the exact same color.
That was not the color I specified.
That was not, So for V5, I'm actually now working on the theming engine, and I've built in a is exact Boolean where you can say no, just use that color for the background precisely.
But that means that your probably giving up on accessibility or have the risk that some of the things might collide more.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's part of the documentation to say, okay, you can do this, but then, you have to live with some of the consequences. That the consequence is not that big because it's like a ramp of 16 colors, and there's one of those bars in that ramp that has a different kind of contrast than all the other colors. But at least we try to make it a possible option now, and developers can make a conscious decision to say, I want to evade that or step away from that 100%.
I don't want to have a discussion.
I don't want to have that discussion. Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
Okay, fair enough. So we switching gears a little bit. You already discussed the fact that you have a couple of years of experience under your belt. And then one of the suggested topics that you sent in was the long-term career lessons for software development. And I'm really curious to see, as far as you are concerned, what is or what are the most important lessons learned over the last couple of years?
I think what you really see now, especially with all the AI stuff going on, is and you hear a lot of talk about developers becoming obsolete and AI can just generate the code, etc. And I personally see myself when using Copilot with all the models that are there, that it's incredible what they can do and what code that they can come up with, and in a rate that as a personal developer could never achieve. But if you don't have somebody behind the keyboard and behind the screen that knows what the software is supposed to do and how the mechanisms work, it's just not gonna get to the same quality level by just generating stuff. Well, at least not for now. Maybe that will change in the future. Things go at an incredible pace, but I think a real developer, a good developer, a skilled developer, that somebody that has knowledge of the algorithms and programming concepts is going to be needed still for a long, long time to make that difference in having good software and having something that does a job.
So in the end, I might be oversimplifying this a little bit, but in the end, the same is true or has been true over the last, I don't know how many years, because there always was this tool that's going to make developers either obsolete or at least do a lot of things differently. Mm-hmm. But that always has been the case, right? So probably our role will shift. And with this case, it will shift.
I think it's already
a lot.
Shifting.
Yeah, mm-hmm. For sure. But it's not going away. It's changing, and it's changing over time. And it's changing, I think, for the better, because I think it was Oscar who said earlier today that one of his colleagues said, well, I didn't think it possible, but now I'm done with a certain thing I needed to do. I didn't have to do any of the boring things, and I still got to do all of the exciting things, and my software is done, so I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you can reach a level of completeness we just didn't have the time for. We were never getting to the bottom of our to-do list. Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
Of course, we like coding. We take pride in our craft. But just mapping models and I don't know, doing the same thing over and over again because it needs to be finished, and then skipping the last part, like the accessibility or whatever, is something we always had that problem.
I think it's really good at taking care of how do you say the craft of things. So indeed the boring stuff and the stuff you actually don't want to do, like writing the unit tests. Yes, we need them, but it's not fun to make them and create them. So if AI can help there, I'm all for it. But I think it's I think the role of the human developer in the whole back and forth stuff of developing software is sometimes a little bit underestimated. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important. I think it was the same as what we had, like, well, I don't know how many years it was ago, maybe 20 years ago, or maybe even longer, 25 years ago. When there was a huge shortage of developers at a certain point in time, mm-hmm. and all kinds of people like, and I don't say that there's anything wrong with that, but there were people that studied history, for example, or well, whatever. Let's take history as an example, and they couldn't find a job there, so they became a software developer. And absolutely not claiming that I'm the best developer out there, but I could actually see a difference between what they were doing and how they were doing it, and how I was doing it as a guy who went to technical university to do an computer science study. There was a difference, and of course there were always a couple of them in between that you say, "Oh, he really knows how it works," but there were also a lot of them that were, I don't know what they are doing here, but this is not really helping the project.
No, but I think a lot of the work is actually doable by a lot of people. Like a lot of applications you can build to a high percentage in, I don't know, low code. But if you're like, the moment you go into more specific problem to solve, or you actually have an issue, or you need to be compliant, or something needs to be super specifically fast somewhere or whatever, you need to be able to go down an abstraction layer. There was always like at least one or two to the normal thing you do, right? Your pane of glass is normally, it's either just the code or it's maybe now a prompt. But if you have a problem, you always need to go 1 or 2 levels deeper. I don't properly read assembly anymore.
But you could.
But I could.
MOV.
But I know exists, and I know things that exist in between, and I know enough about networking that I know a few protocols and what are the ins and outs of that.
And you can read a SQL query even though you might be using
I
Entity
never type
Framework,
them,
right?
but I can easily read them, and I could type them. So if there's a problem, I could tweak it. So 90% of the work, I don't need it. But when you need it, and no one knows it anymore, you have an issue. So I think it shifts like it always been shifted. Maybe this one is a bit faster, but steeper.
More disruptive.
A bit bigger, maybe.
Disruptive. But I cannot imagine you're in a compliant environment and you need to prove that something happens a certain way and no one can read code anymore.
No.
It's like we saw the, I don't know if you all saw it, but like some video of Musk having on stage something that the LLMs are generating the assembly code straight away, the binary code for applications. So it skips the whole programming language. It's like, okay, this is an LLM, which is mostly trained on language. And the programming language is actually one of the most, any programming languages, actually a way of explicitly defining specs with words. There's no better way.
Exactly describing what something should do without any discrepancies or
if you have nice code with intent and all kinds of things, and then it's like, okay, now let's
skip that.
Just generate binary codes. Like, what does it do, and why does it do it? It's like,
I don't know.
And so, if the moment you start skipping, like the do we still call it third generation language? Like for us code, it's like if no one would be able to read that, it's like we won't be able to trust anything. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but that would also mean that we wouldn't know how to think for ourselves at all anymore.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Rick, it's like, will developers become like business continuity thing? You have always like 1 or 2 great devs in the corner somewhere for if the model's not available. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I saw on TV yesterday that they said that the current generation is actually becoming less smart than the previous generation in education and all kinds of stuff, where they say that that's already the influence of all the AI being used. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Hey, we still have all those years of experience under our belts. So.
And we like what we do, so we can do it for the next 30 years. We'll keep up.
A little less, I hope, but still, no.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Vincent, is there anything that you would like to get back to, or anything that you would like to add to what we've already discussed?
Well, no, not really. I think so. We kind of skipped the part where I said how I got involved into this whole Fluent thing. And that is, I think that's actually a nice story, because I was working at Microsoft as a solution architect, and I wanted to build a proof of concept, and for that proof of concept, the customer said, well, make it look a little bit like a Windows application. So that was my cue, like, okay, let's see. There must be some library for that. And then I found a Blazor actual Fluent UI implementation, but that was basically just porting the React components into Blazor verbatimly, one by one. And there was one guy building that, and he just couldn't keep up with how much the React people were pouring out into the world. So, within a couple of weeks, I was helping there and doing commits, etc. And that's when I learned that Microsoft was doing its own Fluent UI library, and that's when I reached out and said, "Hey, I know some Fluent, I know some Blazor. Can I help?" So that's how it started, and you see where it ended.
Yeah, it ended with you maintaining a very popular library.
I didn't feel it ended.
No, it didn't. No, okay. Where we are now, let's say it like that.
I think you're pretty
and
busy
knows,
with this.
What comes along? I still have a tiny shiver of hope that this part of Blazor becomes more important for Microsoft, because I think they have a very clear stance now, which I do understand, don't get me wrong, but where they have a very clear stance on saying, hey, we kind of provide the framework, we kind of provide the base layer. There are some input components that you can use, and so the bare necessities are there. And for everything else, we just lean on the community like we have always done with MFC and ASP.NET Core and going back, I don't know, as far as I can remember, where there have always been component libraries in whatever technology there. But yeah, I think if they would like to make more success with Blazor, then it is imperative that they also have something that allows people to build nice looking be it line of business applications, because I think that's where most of the bread and butter for Microsoft is anyway. Offering something like that, say out of the box, does add a certain value and could contribute a lot to the success of Blazor.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Neither you nor I have anything to say about that. So as long as that's not going to happen, then we just continue to do this side project and keep pouring our love and energy in it.
Well, I think thank you for pouring all the energy in that project.
And we'll make sure to link both the repo and the demo website, fluentui-library.com, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure that those are in the episode description as well. Thank you so much for being our guest. It was great to have you on.
It was my pleasure.
And thank you for listening to Better Talks, the podcast. Better Talks is made possible by Betterwit Managed Software Development.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.